George Bush, who's also on holiday, described the failed attacks as part of war with Islamic fascists and put the country on red alert. Then, when he stepped off Air Force One in Wisconsin, he sought both to reassure and to issue a warning. We are joined now from Washington by Republican Congressman Christopher Shays, the chairman of the Subcommittee on National Security, Emerging Threats and International Relations. Christopher Shays, first of all, Michael Chertoff, in charge of Homeland Security in America, has talked about this operation having the hallmarks of al-Qaeda. Nothing confirmed at all about that, but what does it look like to you?
Well, I mean, it looks like what the 9/11 Commission said we are confronting in the Western world, and that is Islamist terrorists. Whether they're Hezbollah, Hamas, the Jihad, the Brotherhood, or al-Qaeda, they are all one and the same. And there is a clear recognition on the part of some of our people here that that's who we're fighting.
Much is being made of the role, and you may have heard earlier in the programme, the role of Pakistani intelligence in bringing this operation to the point it is at just now. How valuable a role do you think that played, and how important is it for Pakistan?
Well, it's important that the government help us. We're trying to help them deal with the fundamentalists in their own country. The government itself is threatened by the very same people that choose to threaten us. The key, I think, though, is what we need to do in all countries is what your country did. You detected it and you were able to prevent it, so we didn't have to deal with the consequence of a terrorist attack. And I mean, hats off to what folks in Great Britain did and the way you worked with the United States and with Pakistan.
Now, the critics would say that this alleged attack, the alleged plot, was partly as a result of foreign policy, particularly in Iraq, and particularly the role that both the US and the UK are playing in that.
Well, I mean, it's why we're being attacked. That's clear. But, you know, I think the critics are being rather silly, because that's like saying September 11th happened because of our being in Iraq before we were ever in Iraq. I mean, September 11th happened. We've had the embassies that were blown up in Africa, the coal. I mean, you know, I like feeling like, give me a break. What are people? How do critics get away with that kind of garbage?
But when President Bush talked today of a nation at war with Islamic fascists, do you really think that kind of language is helpful in this?
Well, you know, I mean, is it the way I would have expressed it? But to me, it's like straining out gnats and swallowing camels. Why do we even worry about that? It's an ideology, and that's what fascism is. Is it tied to a state? Well, it's pretty close to being tied to a state. So it's not tied to a state, so maybe you could say it's not fascism. But in my judgment, it's just as deadly, just as fierce, and just as illogical. It's an ideology that is sick.
How worrying is it for you in America that this plot was fomented by men who are British citizens planning this, we understand, on British soil? I mean, is there a worry here for you that Britain is perhaps not quite as alert to the dangers as you would hope?
Well, I think Great Britain is alert in terms of their intelligence, but you know, I get a kick out of the French concerned with our Disneyland in France somehow taking away their culture. And in the midst of France, you have Islamic fundamentalists who have no interest in being any part of French culture, just as in Great Britain you have some very serious challenges. Why there isn't that integration is an issue for the Brits. But it is clearly an issue that people better wake up, whether they're in the United States, Great Britain, France, or wherever.
Christopher Shays, thank you.